Okay, so here is part 2 of the bits that I like, and a lot of people would look at this bit and just go, oh my god, what is that? That must be a really harsh bit. It looks really weird. It does not look like people are used to seeing bits look. It's actually a fairly mild bit, depending on the horse. Every horse is individual. Their mouths are shaped differently, and the rider that rides them, their hands are different. So bitting is very individual for horse and rider. So whereas this would be a very mild bit for a lot of horses, some horses would absolutely hate it because there's a lot of flexibility and mobility in the mouthpiece. But this is an MB41PB. It's a ported barrel correctional bit, and you know, a lot of people would look at it and just think it was awful, but really, if you take it apart and you really look at the way it's designed, it's really not a bad bit at all. It's got a curve that sits comfortably in the horse's mouth. It's got a very generous port to allow for tongue relief even when the bit is engaged. A lot of people have misconceptions that ports are bad because they hit the horse in the palate. Usually if the port is below 1.5 inches, they will not hit the palate, unless the horse has an extremely low palate. This bit is not designed to hit the palate. This bit is designed to roll forward and down onto the mouthpiece, onto the tongue. It's not designed to go up and hit the palate. Now, it's called a correctional bit because it's a ported bit that collapses. And it collapses 2 different ways. You can see here, it collapses outward a little bit, like this with pressure. It also collapses this way, kind of like a double-jointed mouthpiece. And so it offers very generous tongue relief when the horse is relaxed and listening. But then, if the horse resists, you have 2 different levels of collapse. So the first level of collapse is this, and that's going to cause these pieces here, which they're rounded and not harsh, but those will create 2 points of pressure in the tongue. And then if the horse still is resisting and still isn't responding, then you get a mild squeezing. Now, this is still very mild, and you can see it on my arm. There's no pinching, there's no nutcracker effect. It's just a collapse. And it's still very mild. None of this hurts my arm at all to roll that mouthpiece in. So horses that do well in this mouthpiece are horses that like a flexible mouthpiece. Some horses prefer a mouthpiece that is solid and steady in their mouth, and other horses prefer one that's more flexible that they can kind of play with a little bit. So a horse that prefers a flexible mouthpiece, and a horse that is, in general, a decent horse, a good horse, a well-trained horse, but one that maybe has a few issues that need to be ironed out. So a good steady trail horse that maybe every once in a while gets really scared at something and you need a little more ability to take hold of that horse, but you want to give them the greatest amount of tongue relief possible, would ride nicely. And this, I have done bitting and put 2 horses in this bit that have done really well with it. One is the Canadian mare, Bailey, that I work with. She goes beautifully in this bit for both riding and driving. She really likes it. She was a horse that did not like a solid mouthpiece. She needed a lot of tongue relief, but she did not like a solid mouthpiece. And she can be a little bit testy every once in a while and needs a little more different points of pressure to encourage her to respond. The other mare that I have put in this bit that loves it is a similar personality. She's a great mare. She's a great little trail horse. But every once in a while, she gets a little stubborn and gets a little bit where she will just ignore the rider. So this bit enables her to have a lot of tongue relief when she's being good and responding and, you know, not being testy, and then offers several different points of pressure when she does get a little flighty to help remind her that she's supposed to be listening to the human, and she goes beautifully in it, and her owner is very thrilled with it. Now, all of the Myler bit mouthpieces that I like have what they call independent side movement. That is, one side of the bit can move completely independently of the other. This makes signaling for turning and for standing up a shoulder and other lateral moves very clear to the horse. And that is what the hooks on the Myler cheek pieces are for. Well, the hooks are there for several reasons. I've heard a lot of people say that the hooks, which lock the headstall and reins into place, are there to turn the bit into a gag bit. They're not. There's no gag action with this the way it is. I have seen people put gag cheeks through here and use it as a gag. Honestly, I don't know why they would do that, but okay. What those hooks do is enable the independent side movement feature to be used, so that pressure on one rein moves just one side of the bit. The other thing they do is enable the bit to, you apply pressure to it, the horse responds, and those hooks automatically right the bit in the horse's mouth. So they automatically help, they balance the bit the correct position in the horse's mouth, and when the horse responds, boop, those hooks make sure that the bit returns to the neutral position in the horse's mouth. So it makes sure that the horse gets a release from the pressure as soon as they respond to the bit, which is part of the reason why these bits are so successful with horses, because a lot of traditional bits, there's very minimal release of pressure, and so the horse doesn't learn, oh, hey, I respond, I get the pressure released. These bits make it very clear to the horse. So if you have a horse that sounds similar to what I just described, this might be a good bit for you. It's a very mild bit. You're not going to, unless you're really yanking or seesawing on the reins, you're not going to do any damage to your horse's mouth with this bit. It's not going to hurt. It's just going to offer different points of pressure to remind that horse to respond to you. So again, you can contact me and I would be happy to do a bitting evaluation or consult with you over video and over email. Thanks.